Well, cool. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Monday. Excited for all of the candidates to join us for the board positions this evening in our second iteration of this Meet the Candidates event that we've had for this Grand Chapter coming up in Palm Springs. And for the guests that are here, know that we're recording as well. And if you have questions as time moves on, feel free to toss those in the chat and I will take a peek at those and ask those towards the end. So similar to the last one, we'll have everybody go around and give a brief 1 minute or so introduction and say who they are and share personal, professional, fraternal, whatever you would like. Feel free to inject some of your excitement for everything going on in life as well. That is okay to do. And I have some questions that I have prepared for everybody, so I'll ask those. We'll go in random order. I have the random.org randomizer up and running to go, so we'll just do that each time to keep things as fair as possible on who's answering what first and last and who's all in between. And then I'm missing something. Yeah, you all have questions at the end, and then I'll close us out too, and just some general reminders for both candidates and everybody that may be looking to attend Grand Chapter Congress. So without further ado, formal welcome to everybody. I'm Corey Stopka, past Grand President and Nominations Chair, honored to serve as the moderator today for all of you. So we will go ahead and get started. Jerry, you're our VP of Finance, so you're our numbers guy. Give me a number between 1 and 10 so I can randomize this list.
How about 7?
7, lucky number 7. You got it. I trust that you all trust me enough to randomize it 7 times. 1. Again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Excited. All right. So, first person to give us an introduction, tell us a little bit about yourself, Erica.
Oh, so funny because I'm right next to you as well. So I was like, oh, how weird would that be? Hi, folks. I'm Erica Colstrud. I am a candidate for Grand President. I currently serve on the board of directors as the Western Provincial Vice President for the second term. Outside of the fraternity, I am a production accountant for film and television. So you may have seen me in the post credits of such great films as The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 2, The Ballad of Songs, and then we are actually just now starting filming in Germany for the next Hunger Games coming to theaters next November, save the date. Outside of work, I just completed my MBA at the University of Southern California, so go Trojans. I know that Paul Garcia will appreciate that shout out as a fellow Trojan. And then I am a volunteer for the Tournament of Roses, which puts on the Rose Bowl game and the Rose Bowl parade, and then also a voting member of the Television Academy. So look out for Emmy nominations tomorrow morning. And that's a lot about me in a quick time.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Next up, David.
Hey, everybody. My name is David Pratt. I'm excited to be here today. I'm running to be Western Provincial Vice President. I live in Phoenix, Arizona with my wife, Lex, and my dog, Booker. Fraternally, I was initiated in 2012, and I've done a whole bunch of things ever since. I love this fraternity so much that I have a tattoo of it on my leg for a fun fact for you all. I've served as an RVP, I've served as a DD, I've been on committees, and I've had a lot of fun doing it all. Professionally, I wear a few hats. I'm the CFO for Pratt Brothers Christmas, which is a large holiday event in Arizona. I'm also a senior financial analyst for Homeowners Financial Group, which is a nationwide mortgage company. And finally, I am the drummer and co-owner of a touring rock band called First and Forever, where that definitely keeps life interesting at the very least. It's a little bit about me. I'm excited for today and excited for the conversations we're going to have. Thanks, Corey.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Next up, Nicole.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Orlando, and I'm running for re-election as the North Central Provincial Vice President. I grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and I live in the Lakeview neighborhood of Chicago currently with my husband, Matt. I was initiated at the Kappa Upsilon chapter at Winona State University, and after graduation, served for several years as a district director, regional vice president, and now provincial vice president. Professionally, I'm an assistant regional director with the FDIC, and I oversee a team that supervises insured institutions in Ohio and Kentucky with combined assets of over 225 billion. I love attending sports events, concerts, and of course Delta Sigma Pi events with Matt. And I look forward to engaging with and getting to know tonight's attendees. Thanks.
Next, thank you, Nicole. Next up, we have Sarah.
How did I know you were going to make me next? Okay, I am Sarah Casey. I was initiated at the Delta Upsilon chapter at the University of North Texas, and I still live in the Dallas area with my husband, Dustin. He's also a brother. I've been a brother for 15 years now this year, so that's fun. And I currently serve as the South Central Provincial Vice President and would like to be reelected in that role. So that's why I'm here. Professionally, I am a small business owner. I own a cosmetics company that mainly focuses on nail polish. So I am typically covered in a lot of glitter, which causes, a lot of speculation about my day job. But I do clean up pretty well typically. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right, impressive, Sarah. Next up, Megan.
I knew you were going to make me follow that. Thanks, Sarah. Long distance high five on that. My name is Megan Hill. I currently serve as the Southern Provincial Vice President, and I initiated last century at the New Pi chapter at Kennesaw State University. My bio is not nearly as exciting as the rest of these folks. For my day job, I lead guest experience at a company called Tropical Smoothie Cafe, which involves a lot of things, but mainly just making really pissed off people not pissed off anymore. And then looking at the data and analytics and stuff around that so that we can maybe not make people mad in the future. What you do with those smoothies when you leave the cafe is none of my business. So there you go. When I'm not working and doing Delta Sig things, I am an avid Kennesaw State fan. Go Owls, hooty hoo. And I have been a season ticket holder in basketball and football and sporadically baseball for a number of years. And I also like to be outside. I like to hike. I have a dog behind me crunching on a bone. She is not a brother, but she does go on hikes with me and go adventuring. I like the beach and all things involving water, ocean, lakes, streams, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to serving on the board for another 2 years.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. Hootie, who is next? Paul, you are up.
I am so glad I didn't have to follow Sarah. So hi, I'm Paul Carpinella. I currently serve as Grant President and candidate for election. I live just outside of Boston with my wife, Hillary, who is a brother and 3 teenage sons. I like to consider myself a dance, theater, and sports dad who really thinks that he inherited his grandparents' Italian cooking abilities, and as a comedian, last 2 are up for a lot of debate in many circles. Professionally, I spent the past 20 years in B2B tech marketing, really focused on demand generations in both startup and high tech or high growth environments. What that basically means is I'm the quarterback for the team, really looking at how do we best align marketing, sales, the C-suite, as well as customer growth around the shared KPIs, and lead annual planning around budgeting and resource allocation and campaigns. Fraternally, I've jumped into my volunteer leadership roles 2 days after graduation, May of 2002. I started as the district director for the then startup at UMass Boston, which is now Xi-Fi, and I've served as an RVP chair of both national and provincial committees around professional development and alumni development. I sat on the Niagara Regional Awards Committee and now proudly serve as your grant president and a Leadership Foundation trustee.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Next up, we have Stacy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stacy Jordan, and I am a candidate for re-election for the Northeastern Provincial Vice President. Fraternally, I've had the great pleasure of serving on the board the last 2 years. I was a Leadership Foundation trustee 6 years. One of my fun facts is one of my sisters is a brother of Delta Sig. My home chapter is Georgia Southern Epsilon Chi chapter. And one of the things that I do outside of work is I volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, Ronald McDonald House. And because our Grand Chapter Congress is in Palm Springs, I have been spending the last year and a half getting my golf game together. So right now my handicap is 16. So I'm looking forward to meeting people on maybe some golf time. So if you don't see me on the course, you will definitely see me on the range. I do have my clubs, and I'm looking forward to using those. In terms of tonight, I am looking for the opportunity to speak to everyone and get a opportunity to express why I would love to be reelected to the board for the next 2 years.
Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. 16 handicap. I can get a 16 on 2 holes. So I feel like you would beat me on the golf course. Swinging it on to our next candidate, Charles.
Hey brothers, what's going on? My name is Charles Weaning. I'm a candidate for Northeastern PvP, and throughout the past 10 plus years in the fraternity, I've served in a lot of different roles, and that's a lot like my career in finance and the chemical industry. I've done a lot in 10 years. Now, if I had the pleasure of sharing the evening with you in the first Meet the Candidate session, you'll remember that I did mention that I am not only in close walking distance to McDonald's, but the ice cream machine works. And don't worry, the professional skepticism, I do have the ice cream cone. My order was $8.95, so it is real. I was hungry, so I already ate it, and it wouldn't be very professional to be devouring an ice cream cone during this session. And I'll be honest with you, brothers, I don't trust myself. Ice cream would get all over me like George Costanza at the US Open. My mom would be very disappointed. Now, I will pivot and say it's a really rainy day here. It's miserable in New Jersey, but the ice cream, it felt so good. And in our lives, when it gets rainy and miserable, that ice cream is Delta Sig for me. So thank you.
So thank you, Charles. Now on to number 10 in our programs, but number 1 in our hearts, Jerry Hotwagner.
Oh, how do you follow that? Hi, everybody. My name is Jerry Hotwagner. I'm currently your Vice President of Finance seeking re-election. I ask for your support and your vote. I live outside of Oklahoma City in Mustang, Oklahoma. I originally from Chicago, go Cubs. And live in Mustang with my wife Amy and our dogs Nugget and Wilder. Professionally, I actually have 2 sons too. One of them actually is a brother in Delta Sig, so that's my fun fact. One of the greatest experiences as a Delta Sig was to watch my son cross and initiate. VP of Finance, CFO for Biotech in Oklahoma City. We're an oil well service company. We have a microbial product that we use instead of a chemical treatment. I've been doing that for 28 years. And outside of the fraternity, I don't do a whole lot, but I do help my dad a little bit with the American Legion. I'm a member of the Sons of the American Legion in Skiatook, Oklahoma. And appreciate your time and looking forward to seeing everybody in Palm Springs.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everybody, for those great introductions of yourself. And with all of you desiring to serve on the board of directors, we've come up with a few questions for all of you this evening that relate to those roles, that responsibility as a board member of Delta Sigma Pi. So I will ask the question, and everyone will have a chance to answer. I'll go ahead and randomize it again. I'm a big baseball fan. I don't like the Yankees. but I'm a big Babe Ruth fan, so he was number 3. So I'm going to go ahead and randomize the list 3 times. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So we got our order. First question for the group. What is your why for wanting to be a Grand Officer? First up, we have Chicago Cubs fan, Nicole Orlando.
Excellent segue. So my why, I love the fraternity's purpose, mission, and values, and the more I participate, the more my passion for this organization grows. Helping collegiate and alumni members achieve success as a volunteer leader is so rewarding, and I want to continue to make a positive impact in Delta Sigma Pi, which is why I'm seeking re-election as the North Central Provincial Vice President.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. Next up, Erica.
Also, Chicago Cubs fan. Yes. For over 20 years, Delta Sigma Pi, it's been constant in my life, from being a collegiate to a volunteer in numerous roles and now a board member. So what's driven me through every role is the deep belief that our members deserve a fraternity that supports them as much as they support each other. So I'm running for Grand President because I believe we can deliver that, not with just more tasks or checklists, but with like smarter systems, clearer expectations, and a fraternity culture that's built on trust and fun. So we have our members doing all of the hard part, and our chapters from alumni and collegiate chapters, you're doing all the heavy lifting. So we just want to make the rest easier. So that is my why.
Excellent. Thank you, Erica. Next up, Red Sox fan, Paul.
10-game winning streak, Red Sox fan right there. Definitely believe in the vision and the purpose of Delta Sigma Pi, mainly because I've lived it. You know, Delta Sig helped me, one, land my first job at the back end of a recession. It taught me valuable business skills when I wasn't getting that earlier in my career, and it certainly helped me through some tough professional and personal challenges. But really what gets me excited and wanting to come back day in and day out and spend the hours doing it is the opportunity to pay it forward. Delta Sig certainly opened up a lot of doors for me, and I know it can open up a lot of doors for other people. So really to be part of the team helping make that possible, seeing these folks develop as leaders and get doors open that might not have been happening because of them is energizing. And I'm really looking forward to, keeping the fraternity strong, helping build more leaders, and most importantly, helping them open up doors for other people as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. David, you're up next.
Awesome. I'll keep it short and simple. Delta Sig has given me so much in my life and had such a great impact that I want to give back and give all brothers the opportunity to have that. I've been a Grand Officer before as an RVP and have known for years that serving on our board of directors would be an honor to do. And I feel after the experiences I've had in the fraternity and with where I'm at in my life, I'm ready to go all in and provide that level of service. So I'm excited, and I'm always looking for ways to give back to an organization that's given me so much. Thank you.
Next. Thank you, David. Next up, Stacy.
Thank you, Corey. And normally I would be in Atlanta sitting in my seats for All-Star, but my family's coming up here, so I'm not. So go Braves, even though we may not. But if you see All-Star tomorrow, my seat section is 143. One of the reasons why I want to serve as a Grand Officer is because I have been blessed to have my first job because of being a brother. I have many family, both my sister and cousins have been a part of the organization, and I want individuals to be able to have someone that could be a role model for them. As I have been in the organization over 30 years, there's been difficulties that that experience because I didn't really have someone that I can talk to, that I can be a mentor in terms of leadership. And so over the past 25 years, I've been that for several people, and I want to play that forward because I think that our national board really needs to have a variety of voices and experiences. And if I'm reelected, I will provide that.
Next, thank you, Stacy. Next up, we have Jerry.
Thank you, brother. Why I want to serve on the board. I almost did not pledge Delta Sig after all. I started in the program and decided, you know what, I don't have time for this. But my pledge educator took me aside and said, I think you will like this, and I think you will be a good brother. And I took her advice, and to me, this is the second chance I have. So it's my opportunity to an obligation to serve because it's given me partly where I am today. I wouldn't be who I am today without Delta Sig. The professional development, the ability to stand in front of my brothers and have the opportunity to fail and still have my brothers want to pick me up and help me along. I want to do the same thing. There's nothing better than to go to conferences or chapter meetings or grand chapter to see our brothers who are coming up after initiation and operating in chapter, and being able to be there and listen to their stories. It's a battery charger for me too, to want to help then turn right around and give back.
Next, thank you, Jerry. Next up, we have Charles.
So the question of why, I thought to myself, why not? This is a really great opportunity to lead the fraternity. And in my personal life, things are at a really good point. So I have just finished what is my 6th and final year as RVP. So I'm looking for something else to do in the fraternity, in work, and all of those other things. Now is the perfect time for me to make that step. So that is one area. Why not? And then I also think to myself, it's one thing to sit and say, okay, we have these challenges, these are the things we're doing well. I want to be the one that steps forward and then says, let's make these things work together. And because at the end of the day, I notice we have a lot of passion. Sometimes we wear our hearts on our sleeve, and that's great. But if that arm has no muscle, we will not be able to push past the challenges that present to us. And I'm confident that we can solve those challenges and we work together and we can have fun doing it. So why not? I don't want to ask why not in 20 years. I want to go for this opportunity now. And at the end of the day, no matter the result, for the next 2 years, I will absolutely be committed to the fraternity and the passions I have.
Nice. Thank you, Charles. Next up, Megan.
Go Braves, even when we're not having a great year, but still go Braves. The reason that I am running for re-election is because I think there's more work to do, and I think we have more opportunities to bring our fraternity even further into the 21st century. I had no intention of ever serving on the board 20 years ago when I first pledged the fraternity. I was a transfer student who had changed majors from pre-law to marketing and didn't know anybody, and saw a sign in the bathroom saying meet business majors. And I thought, well, that's a really great way to figure out who the good professors are. Now here I am sitting on the other side of that. And I had an amazing meeting this past week with students at work who were working on a project as an internship with us. And I was reminded of why I love being a volunteer leader with Delta Sigma Pi. That's a muscle I don't usually get to flex in my day job. I'm usually not dealing with students, but we had such a great time, and it was wonderful to hear their ideas. And those weren't even brothers, although I did phone a friend, and I think one of them is a brother that was not on that meeting. So I'm a servant leader at heart, and being part of Delta Sigma Pi just continues to reignite that desire to go and help folks have experiences that maybe I didn't have when I was first in my career. And it's really tough coming at the very end of a question like this because all the things have already been said. So, what they all said, but also there's more work to do. And I want to keep pushing forward to do more work to make our fraternity even more valuable to our future members.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Next up, Sarah.
Yeah, so volunteering, just in general is important to me just because I think that otherwise I probably would just be like watching Love Island all day. But Delta Sigma Pi in general is like, is a cause that is important to me because I think especially as like an entrepreneur, I see the programs that we provide for our students and especially like our students and our young alumni, but even, more seasoned alumni too, that provide those leadership skills that, are really valuable. Especially I hear so many of my friends that are looking for jobs right now, and you need something to set you apart right now. And so, yeah, like the programs that we can provide and even just the network that we create for our members is a really important experience. And so just, being able to be a part of that is something that I love to be a part of. And just being on the board is something that I also never really saw myself doing, but I am somebody that always kind of just tries to serve to the greatest need. And I've just found that my skill set just aligned with this role. And so I just took it on as a challenge. Every, volunteer role within the fraternity has been a new challenge for me, and I've enjoyed it. So that's why I want to do it again.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. Next question. Love Island has 4 letters, so we're going to go with 4. Unless there's an objection. Hearing none, we will do 4. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have our
Corey,
orbits.
you sound like the owl in the Tootsie Pop commercial, counting how many licks it takes to get to the center. I couldn't pass up that opportunity to let you know.
Oh my gosh. I will, I'll change my Facebook profile picture, which probably dates me a little bit. What are we doing here? We're asking questions. Here we go. Since submitting your nomination, what efforts have you put forth to be prepared for day 1 in your role? First up this time is Charles.
Okay, great. So I think initially your reaction is to say, here's what I've been researching about the fraternity. And that's actually lower on my priority list. Now, please keep listening. What I want to do is, my idea is, okay, I can drive a car. If I know how to drive the car, I can follow the map. So at work, I've been following leaders. I've been asking about what they're doing. I've been asking strategy questions. I've been learning about, okay, when someone starts a new position, how are they onboarding? What are their secret tricks that they learn to build teams? What are communications? What are sometimes when there's been outright failure? What went wrong? When something was successful, what happened? When something was good enough and it got the job done, what were those keys to success? Because the idea in my brain is, well, a lot of the things in the fraternity I can learn, and I'm still very in touch with those things, but to be able to lead a team, to lead a province, that is really challenging because a board member is really like a Fortune 500 C-suite, and that's how we have to think about those things. Now, the second area that I did to be prepared is Michael Phelps. I was a kid watching him. He was great. His coach would always be messing with him. He'd make his taxis late, and one time he purposely gave him broken goggles during a practice. And actually, in one of his real Olympic races, his goggles broke. But he didn't crack under pressure. He knew what to do. So the questions we have, I looked at the questions about 20 minutes before this meeting intentionally, because my idea is, well, if I am a board member, there will be times when maybe I didn't get a chance to read something, so I'm going to have to quickly digest information, speak knowledgeably about it, but also be honest. If there's something that I don't feel comfortable talking about, I have to be honest. I can't pretend and say I know something. I have to be able to say, that's a tough question, I'll get back to you. And so maybe you can be the judge if I should use more preparation next time. But that's my reason how I'm getting prepared.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charles. Next up with that is David.
I think I was number 2 on the last question. 2, maybe 2 or 3, not sure.
Blame Love Island, David. Blame Love Island.
My wife loves Love Island. I will blame Love Island.
Nice.
For preparation, I've tried to be very intentional in the prep work I've done. I think the first one that was most obvious to me was to start having conversations with grant officers, with candidates, with collegians, with alumni, mostly to ask questions and get a better understanding of what do collegians think of Delta Sigma Pi today? What are the different chapters going through? What are the different regions going through? Everybody has a unique opinion, and I've tried to hear as many as I possibly can. From a board perspective, I have enjoyed attending the board's meetings as a guest, and I've tried to participate in almost every one that's happened through Zoom. I've also taken some time to sharpen my skills with Robert's Rules of Order and parliamentary procedure, especially with an organization like ours. For those on the call that maybe haven't been to a Congress, it's such an important part of DSP. It's the language we speak as leaders. I want to make sure that I'm ready to be able to speak that language as a board member. Other than that, I'm confident I'll be ready on day one, and more conversations will take place from here, and I will continue to learn as much as I can.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Next up is Paul.
I think Love Island has more than 4 letters, but I'll let that pass. Going by the whole thing, sorry. Anywho, so I've definitely been working hard and placing a lot of priority on making sure that the leadership team, the entire leadership team is ready to go from day one. That's, you know, our functional leaders at central office, our chapter presidents, our VPs, our PVPs as operational leaders, and then also certainly as board members in both boards. And certainly as part of that is not only understanding, okay, you know, what were some of the trainings that I went through to help prepare me as a board member and getting a refresher on that, but also having conversations with folks and, you know, even kind of bringing Erica into the process as well to get, you know, make sure that I'm not being biased in terms of the educational pieces there. So certainly been a really good refresher, and then really working with Jeremy and trying to poke into one, understanding what is the data now we're getting through the, you know, hub and health indicator, and or the questions that we should be asking and could be asking to really make sure that we're identifying the patterns, but most importantly, getting the right help to the right chapter. So really excited about that. As one of the folks kind of driving everything, it certainly helps that I could probably help get some sessions on there that I think I might need to brush up on too. I think certainly from a personal perspective, I've also been really more intentional this time around about the mental health aspect of the role. Really trying to, one, take a little bit of this downtime to make sure I'm getting some family time, but also understanding how to listen to my body better and ask for help when needed. And also reflecting, right? So this is a good reflectional period of things where I could have been better, specifically around, I think, communication and more clarity to make sure that I have the whole team understanding the what and why that's in my head. I think last board meeting, I think one of the chuckles I had is I was iffy on that until Paul told me what was in my head was, I think, the gist of that conversation. So being able to do that, I think that's going to make us all more effective. And quite honestly, when I've had those conversations, I think it's also really helped me make better decisions and really figure out how do we tweak things to make sure that it's applicable to everybody, because everybody has different perspectives than I do, and gets us to the right answer. So it's one, getting the team ready, and then two, making sure that I'm set up to be the best from a mental and perspective and a skill set perspective.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. Next up is Stacy.
Thank you. So one of the things that I did in terms of being prepared this time around is having some conversations or starting to have conversations with different candidates, and also working with the team when you are not the incumbent and now you are, and knowing that the RVP team, for the majority of them, will be returners, really taking stock on what they need from a developmental standpoint, or what I need to do, because when you are in the role the first time, there's different things that you feel personally that might be strategic in how much information to provide to the team. Where do I need to allow them to build their skill sets and let them fly, especially with the things that are going to be coming down the pipe, the lead summits, really engaging those individuals who are going to be involved in those activities up front, and really getting prepared for um, a variety of things, looking at the different scenarios, and in terms of transition, if I don't win, being able to properly transition to Charles. I've already had conversations with individuals, if I do get reelected, who will be committee chairs, so that, on day one, we really would have some focus, similar to what 2 years ago, in respect to what we want to do and how we want to do it as a team.
Want to thank you, Stacy. Next up is Nicole.
So I have the benefit of serving in this role over the last two bienniums, so I'm ready to begin another term. For me, I continue to learn, I continue to build my leadership skills, and I am committed to applying the knowledge and skills I've gained over the last two bienniums. And another key for me is to build relationships with new members of the leadership team in the province and on the board to be successful. And that is what I plan to do in the next biennium.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole. Next up is Megan.
Hey there. I, like Nicole, will be going into my third biennium. And as a PVP, we wear two different hats, one on the board side and one leading the leaders in the Southern province, or in your respective province. You're not all leading Southern province. That's my job. And I have to say, I feel pretty good about the board side. I'm prepared in that way. On the provincial side, we're going to have almost a complete turnover in RVPs. We have one returning, and the rest are all going to be new to this level of leadership. So the way I've been preparing with that team is making sure that our candidates for RVPs in the Southern Province are part of our SoPro happy hours that we have every couple of weeks, so that they get used to seeing each other and chatting and seeing and using each other as a hive mind. We have the luxury of having folks with a lot of different experiences that will be serving on the Southern provincial leadership team, but it's different when you get in that seat, right? So doing a lot of listening and a lot of working with that team to make sure that we're ready to hit the ground running. And we're also going to have some turnover on the chair side, and so working with the folks to make sure there's people that are maybe leaving their role as RVP that want to serve in a different way. They don't want to break the thread, they want to serve as a chair. And so making sure that we put our aces in the right places so that we can keep growing and keep learning and keep serving the brothers of the Southern Province and the whole fraternity.
Wonderful. Thank you, Megan. Next up, Sarah.
Yeah, so like Megan said, it's fun being a PVP because you get two kind of roles a little bit. You get the operational role and the board role. And GCC week, you really do have to be ready day one because you have both of those meetings that week. So what I've kind of been doing to get ready for that is on the operational side, kind of the provincial leadership team side, is just trying to look back at the last biennium. What were our goals? did we meet those? What were the things that, I had promised the province? Did we action those? And taking a look at what current needs are and, kind of setting ourselves up for success for the next biennium, as well as working with what the current candidates are and trying to figure out, trying to assemble the team essentially. So we're kind of ready to roll that first week there once everybody is elected, whoever gets elected. And then on the board side, I think the most important thing there is just building relationships, whether that's with other board candidates or just people, other brothers. Just, as board members, like we get to participate in the legislation, like writing a little bit and, making our own legislation if we want to. But the biggest thing that we get to do is the legislation that's presented to us. We get to digest that and then see if that represents the organization. And so those relationships that we are building that, we have to see through those relationships, does that represent the organization, those people, what's the feeling out there? And so I think just trying to build a lot of relationships right now, and get, just trying to do that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. Next up is Erica.
Great. So I would love to tell you all that my preparation started on the day I submitted my nomination, but that would be a lie. My preparation has been going for much longer than that. I have served on the board of directors for 4 years, making sure I am very well versed in what we're doing as a board, where things are going, where our budget is, what our budget projections are, what our policies are, what our bylaws, what our ritual, and just making sure that I know that back and forth so that day one we continue that forward. So for everything that's coming to GCC, I have a spreadsheet of if this outcome happens, this is what the next step is. If this outcome happens, this is the new setup that we need to fill these positions. So I'm making sure that I'm playing out different scenarios in a proactive way. Additionally, I do professional development book club that we started in 2020, and I like to read. So I've been reading all of these books that are new for this year, which includes Being a Strategic Leader, a nonprofit board organization. It's the 5th edition of the 100-day action plan. I've already read the 3rd edition a few times, so I'm excited for a new edition. And then I just make it a point to listen. So I've always tried to make myself available in any role I've ever held. And so I just casted that net wider once I declared for Grand President. So that's listening to undergraduates, alumni, volunteers, staff, past leaders. I am reaching out and I am just saying, hey, let's have 30 minutes and I'm just going to listen unless you have a question for me. So I'm trying to take notes, trying to understand nuances. If they're all using the word strong, how do you define the word strong? So that once the board gets together at GCC, we sort of can come together as cohesiveness of this is what we mean when we're saying this is the direction we want to take. In addition to that, Paul has graciously met with me once my nomination was in so that we could sort of see what meetings I could shadow him on, what check-ins we could do to build a rapport. So I'm very thankful for that as well in addition.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erica. Last but certainly not least, Jerry.
Thank you. How do I prepare? How have I prepared? Again, as Megan said earlier, sometimes it's already said before you get to it, but conversations, self-reflection on what I could do better if I'm reelected. What can I do now until that point in time and beyond? Conversations with brothers, whether it's reaching out to me or reaching out to them. As Erica said, listening, being a soundboard for ideas, and how can we better support our fraternity as well as board members? How can we support the foundation, which in turn directly supports the fraternity? What can we do to work together? That's all been in my mind, and how we can come together as a group more so than we have, to have a tighter knit group till we have a better collaboration than we already currently do. So, and I look forward to it. Look forward to what we have for the future. And of course, if someone does end up running against me, I will welcome with open arms and offer my insight and thoughts and such, and help with the transition if that becomes the case. But appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jerry. All right. Want to be respectful of people's time, so I'm going to do this next random just once. which is also, I have no fun analogy for that one. What I heard in that last answer was a lot about building relationships, working with teams, which was going to be the essence of the next question. So I'm going to skip that one and combine it with one that we've got in the chat, and it's related to strategy. So in terms of strategy, what is one way we can ensure, what is one way that we're able to make the board more strategic than it is right now? And how would you balance that strategy with both being visionary but also actionable? So visionary and actionable, and one thing that the board can do differently to be strategic. First up with that is Charles.
So that's a great question, and I have an answer. This is good. So I was thinking, I don't know why this thought entered my brain, but it did. Remember when we were in English class and we first had to do writing prompts? And I was given, okay, how do I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Okay, so in my idea, in my head, all right, I know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, that's the strategy. That's the goal we want to achieve in this very simple example. We'll do more than make peanut butter sandwiches if I am on the next board, but the idea is, okay, that's easy. I understand that. And then you would say, put the peanut butter on the bread. And then the English teacher would pick up the jar of peanut butter and put it on the bread. You had to be more specific. You had to give the details on those steps. And I think that's the most important thing, because we essentially have to build a staircase to get to the next level. So you have to have a goal that everyone can understand, and you have to have steps on how to get there. And then the second part of this, my answer is, it's actually real interesting. The Coca-Cola, when they launched that new Coke product in the 80s, it failed miserably. In the blind taste tests, consumers picked the new product overwhelmingly. They wanted the new product. They didn't know what it was, but they said that tasted really great. The marketing and the communication rollout, people didn't like the change, and they became so against it. And that is something that's really important, because I think Delta Sig, like many organizations, if people don't understand how something is made, and if they don't feel involved in that process, it's an uphill battle, and it just simply won't work. So to encapsulate that answer, we need to be able to see the goal, we need steps on how to get to that goal, and we need to make it a goal of not me, but we.
Thank you, Charles. Next up is Nicole.
So, I really think that the board has to build a consensus for the future of the organization to be both visionary and actionable. I think the board as a whole needs to be aligned on the strategic direction of the fraternity, as well as the roadmap that details the steps we have to take to reach our destination. As we all know, the board is made up of individuals all over the country. So whether we're meeting in person or virtually, we really need to be thoughtful about the topics we discuss and the time we allot for our discussion. I'd like to see us ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard and to voice their opinion, because every opinion matters. And, while we might not always, have agreement from everyone on the board, we absolutely have to create a consensus. And I believe the board should always be discussing the most important things and reaching a consensus on how to move the organization forward in a positive direction. I think one way we can accomplish that is giving all members of the board an opportunity to provide input into the board agendas. I also think that to be strategic and successfully be both visionary and actionable, we need to understand the operations of the organization. And, while we've delegated a lot of operational related items to the central office team. At the end of the day, it doesn't relieve our responsibility. You know, we're accountable for the fraternity as a whole. And I think what can help us be more strategic and make more informed decisions is to have, you know, more regular reporting to the board on the operational items.
Thank you, Nicole. Next up, we have Megan.
Thanks, Corey. A few minutes ago, Erica mentioned something about professional books. I think a stack of books that she's been reading. I'm a big proponent of that. My very favorite is one of the very first ones that I read. I think I was in a high school honors class, and it was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's amazing how many times I go back to that. I go back to the 7 habits. And in this case, and in serving on this board, I think the number one, it's actually habit number 2, but the number 1 habit that I think we need to embody is begin with the end in mind. And that encapsulates a lot of what some other folks have said, some other brothers have said about making sure that we have a clear goal, that we have consensus. That is what step 2 is, begin with the end in mind. If we know and we're aligned with where we want to go, then the rest of that becomes a lot easier, and we're able to effectively delegate some of the more operational ideas while still being strategic and still making sure that we are seeing 5 steps, 10 years down the road, rather than being stuck in where we are right now. Change for the sake of change means that you spin your wheels and you don't necessarily get what you were trying to accomplish. But if you don't define what you're trying to accomplish and get everyone to buy in on that and everyone to feel a sense of ownership towards that, we can't be strategic and we can't be successful. So that is my answer. Go read it if you haven't read it. It's very, very good.
Thank you, Megan. Next up, Stacy.
Thank you. Megan brought up what 7 habits. One of the things I always tell my staff is you want to have more good deposits than bad. Because when we talk about consensus and strategic, people will understand a vision if, again, if the end is in mind, and also if people understand that it's good intentions, that what we are doing as an organization, being on the board, that we have the best intention for the organization as a whole. And so to be visionary is a lot of being creative and having the big picture ideas of, hey, what would we want? But at the same time, having that understanding from our membership as a whole to know what will be achievable, what will be actionable, what is that problem that we can use a strategic or visionary solution to help the organization as a whole. Because I believe that just from my 2 years being able to have gone to events across the country, to be able to pick up information from the different leaders, you are able to understand what everyone has in their place in terms of making the big picture visionary decisions, because you've heard things. And I think that that's one of the things that as a board, everyone understanding the different nuances and getting that consensus so we can have big change and important change that will mean a good deal to our membership across the country.
Thank you, Stacy. Next up is Paul.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm going to try not to go too far down the road. So typical Paul trying to stop himself type of conversation. So I think there are a few pieces here in terms of how we can make the board more strategic and then really build that consensus. So I think one of the massive pieces, and Nicole is right, is really focusing on reporting templates and data that we are all aligned on. What are those? What's that key one page or metrics sheet that we need to look at day in and day out to understand not only the health of the organization, but where we're at, and then what is the back end pieces that specific work groups or pieces of the board need to look at to really be able to dig into things, i.e. financial, i.e. if we get the audit committee pieces and operational pieces like that. I also think, and an old boss often told me, data and understanding best practices can certainly help to be able to better align and build consensus. So one thing I certainly am going to be harping on the team, and certainly what I like about, and again, I'm sorry, this is probably me being a little bit too showing at my biases in some areas, but what I really like about some of the new changes that we have in mind designed to get the board more strategic is now we're having opportunities not only to have groups provide us with the research in terms of best practices, in terms of what is and isn't working for the organization, but we could also have work groups doing a bunch of test and learns as we're in there really understanding how well is the fit for this is from an organizational perspective. Should we be investing dollars and time on this, and how do we move forward overall? But the big piece I think is really being clear on, like everyone else has said, on the what and why, and making it digestible. I think we've done a great job of providing a lot of research, a great job of providing a lot of what's happening outside, but it's huge. These are massive white papers, and the discussion formats probably could be set up in a better way to talk about what we like about each of these items and where we definitely feel that we need to dig in order to be both strategic and actionable. But I think the big part is, and I agree. I was a data guy. I came in as a data guy. I work in analytics. I market analytics. I think we have to be in alignment coming out of that September board meeting. What are the consistent reporting templates that we need? How do we then action it and keep people accountable? And then how do we all kind of share what's in our head? And most importantly, how do we set an environment where people feel comfortable to challenge, to want to say, hey guys, we need to stop. We need to dig in and think about this. And I'm committed to do that, and that's what we need to move forward. That's what you are telling me and telling us and Erica as well. So I think that's what we need, but I also I think we have to give ourselves a lot of credit, and a lot of the things that we're trying to put in place are going to set up structures for creating the bandwidth that the board of directors needs to take those strategic big picture learnings and also execute our fiduciary responsibility in a way that I think will also help us have better set up agendas and things like that. And also setting expectations of how we could request things on the agendas when we're getting the 30 days and 10 days out there to make sure that we're capturing everything. It's us, it's not one person. And I think that the combination of the broader team, the expertise of the members of the team, the expertise of the professional staff, and the expertise of the individuals providing the research and data into us is what's going to make us better. It's what's going to help us move faster and be strategic and more effective and move quicker. Sorry, well, also Paul diatribe there. But anyways, that's my story.
Thank you, Paul. Next up on our strategy journey is Jerry.
Thank you. How do we be more strategic? I do not truly believe that we as a board can be fully strategic. We need to be operational to an extent. And by doing that, we look to the future, but by doing that, we also have to look at the past. How do we engage our brothers at all levels of the fraternity, whether you're initiated or a veteran member? What best practices can we do that still keeps us as the identity of Delta Sigma Pi? Best practices are great, but is it a best practice for our organization? I like the fact that we have our ability to have a voice from our brothers directly from the chapters up through our provincial vice presidents directly to the board. I think that's great. We try to engage as much as we can, but to be more strategic, I think we need to be somewhat operational in order for us to find out what our brothers' needs and wants are, our collegiate and alumni brothers, and how can we utilize that information to do what's best and make changes that make sense for our organization. Actionable, take what we have, take the opportunities that we have in front of us, and determine whether it's the right time for those changes. But at this point in time, our grand chapter is the one who will make the changes. And if they make the changes accordingly, then we go forward from that and operate accordingly. Main thing too is to make sure we keep the identity of who we are as Delta Sigma Pi. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Next up is Erica.
Thanks. So to make the board more strategic, I'm hoping to implement a consistent system of goal alignment and progress accountability. And it's going to start with the board agenda. So I've already been playing with some templates and sent it out for some feedback from those that are familiar with our board meeting structure, where it's going to show, is this in progress? Is this just an update? Is this an item that we need to discuss? Who's in charge of that? What's the budget obligation tied to this event? And if we're not getting an update or an action item on something that we approved earlier, it sits at the bottom of the agenda to let us know it's still on track to come to us when it's supposed to, whether that be the January board meeting, a March one, or a different one that we call as a board. I think we need to introduce regular status updates. That's something that we heard from the national committee chairs back in Cleveland at GCC, that they wanted this tracking system. And I think we did a great first step with our strategic priorities dashboard, but I think we can take it a step further. And it doesn't need to be that the board is micromanaging. It's just to let us know if there's a roadblock that we need to address so that they can continue to move forward. So I want us to reframe that information as a tool rather than being used as a weapon. I want to make sure that our board agendas are aligning with those committee and task groups work, and we're going around the strategic goals. I want to tie our budget decisions directly to the strategic priorities to ensure that our investments are going to match our vision. And I want to create a culture of forward motion, not just maintenance. I understand that we have current real issues right now, and I want us to be addressing those in a forward motion rather than just sort of patching the ship and hoping that it continues to move forward instead of continue to sink as the patch doesn't work. Then to balance with the visionary and actionable, I think the vision is going to start with clarity, and a few people have already touched upon that. I think we need to, as a board, really define what we mean when we say things and make sure that we're all using the same words the same way. I think every goal needs ownership and accountability. Again, tying to our strategic priorities, they will expire with this board, and we will need to evaluate if we want to do another set. I've been doing research for other organizations and how they communicate their strategic priorities, their updates, how they do the ownership, and how they break it down into smaller efforts that are being led with a point person and what the budget allocation was to that mission that I would love to show others, the research that I've done on that. I think we need to lead with ambition and execution. The grand ideas don't move the organization unless they're backed by the measurable steps and the resources and follow through. I think we do a great job coming up with ideas. I think sometimes we don't do as well strategically measuring how those ideas are implemented to see, besides just random feedback, what works, what doesn't. Do we need to reallocate how we prep for an event? And I sort of view the role of the grand president to set the tone and tempo. And I'm going to ensure that we dream big, but we're operating smart. That's the balance that I'm hoping to bring for strategic and visionary and actionable.
Thank you, Erica. Next up, we have Sarah.
I will also try not to ramble per Paul, but I think that a lot of our board members are somewhat limited in the way that they can be visionary, just because we are so in the weeds based on the operational duties that we have, what we're elected to, and that's like nobody's fault. It's just the job description that we're elected to do. And so trying to make some of those changes, I think, give a lot of credit to this board and the past few boards. We've made a lot of changes, and I don't think people even realize that, but just kind of keeping forward with that momentum, I think would be a great thing so that the board can be more strategic and people can start thinking more visionary. And so when we get to the point where we can start being really visionary as a board of directors, I think what we do there is, think about the real needs of the organization and what dream scenarios even of what we can offer to our members, but also just keeping it grounded in real data, grounded in, constraints of the budget. That's always an issue for nonprofits, but I'm a data person, so just trying to figure out what is like the realistic scenarios there, and what's actionable and achievable. So.
Thank you, Sarah. And to close us out is David.
Thank you, Corey. I've heard a lot of great points. I'll try not to reiterate too many of them. Strategic is a really tough word. And some of the people on this call probably heard me talk about this, where there's a lot of ways to define what is strategic. So the approach I take with it is I know that as a board and as a fraternity, we need leadership. And with leadership, you need two things. You need trust and you need really clear communication. And I was inspired last week talking to a brother that shared a quote with me that life happens in the cracks, meaning that the relationships we form, the brotherhood that we all have together, it doesn't happen on the big stages, it doesn't happen at the huge conventions, and it doesn't happen in the Meet the Candidates events. It's the phone calls, it's the going to a baseball game, it's the having a conversation outside of a room somewhere. And I think that's important to build on those individual relationships, because that's how we can better cultivate an environment where people feel free to openly discuss and agree and disagree with each other as board members. In regards to the vision and the actionable stuff, vision's tough. You have to look at where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going. You have to be mindful of things that have been time tested and have worked that shouldn't change, but also be bold enough to make change where things are outdated and where improvement needs to be made. It's really hard. It requires tough conversations, but I think trust and communication will do that. And finally, in all of these conversations, having focused, measurable goals with timelines and shared accountability so that the board can keep each other accountable on where we're headed and be more clear, I think is really key to the entire process. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Heard a lot of strategy in those last answers. Being open-minded, caring about relationships, accountable to each other. I have a challenge for everyone on the call that's given answers. Is we've recorded this, so look back at this as time moves on and seeing what strategy that you thought we were at, and lessons learned and wins and losses and all those types of things. I think that can be a good game plan for all of us moving forward as we get into the roles just a month from now. So I've got a couple things to close out with here for us. And then Jen Wynn, one of the other nominations committee members, has some other notes for us. First and foremost, thanks to all of you for your willingness to put yourselves out there and desire to serve on the board of Delta Sigma Pi. That is not an easy task, and it is one that helps provide the organization moving forward. And I appreciate you all for wanting to do that. GCC is just a few short weeks away. We're going to be together in Palm Springs. That's going to be exciting. Bring your shorts. Get ready to have some fun. Get ready to do some work. Part of that work is remembering that we do have caucuses on that Wednesday with elections on Thursday. So a reminder that those items have been moved up beyond what the traditional Grand Chapter has been in recent bienniums. And then we also have trainings on site at Grand Chapter for those people that are elected to help get us even more ready on day one. So we've been able to adapt some trainings for that. So that is exciting. We also have some Meet the Candidates items for RVPs here in a couple of days on the 16th. That I would welcome everybody to tune into. And then we also have virtual trainings in advance of Grand Chapter Congress, with RVPs having their trainings on July 20th and the board having their trainings on July 23rd. So thanks for everyone that has been putting in so much effort and time and care into putting those trainings together for both the pre-Grand Chapter Congress trainings and then on site. Those are all the talking points I have. So I want to hand over to Jen, who's got some other news for us to share. So Jen, floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Corey. Good evening, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for this Meet the Candidates In. This is the first time we've held this as a national forum hosted by the Nominations Committee, and the Nominations Committee and I thank you all for being here. This is one of multiple things that we've begun to execute this year as part of recommendations for from the Delegate Experience Task Force. And another one of those things is that we're going to make available, I'm going to put the link in the chat once I'm done talking, and also it'll be sent out in reminder emails throughout the next couple weeks leading up to Congress. We're going to be opening an advanced Q&A form for the caucuses so that we can send those directly to the Nominations Committee to review, prepare in time for Congress, and we can streamline what the top themes, top questions being asked of our candidates are. So in addition to the questions that were asked tonight, I know there were a few in the chat we didn't get to, but please submit those in the form. The Nominations Committee those. And as always, reach out to nominations@dsp.org if you have any questions about all of these new processes and forms and everything else we've got going on.
Excellent. Thank you, Jen. Much appreciated. Once again, thanks to everybody for this evening. That form is in the chat, ready to go. I look forward to seeing you all in a few short weeks in Palm Springs and seeing you all in person. Thanks for your desire to be a leader in this organization, whether it's going to be formal or informal after Grand Chapter Congress. Know that all your contributions will be very much appreciated as we move the organization forward. So I'm excited for what the future holds for everybody. And with that, I would like to say good night, and I hope that I turn the TV on and Byron Buxton is winning the home run derby.